Welcome to the Workamper Show, brought to you by Workamper.com. This podcast helps you discover how to finance your RV travel dreams. Each one of our episodes will introduce you to people who are already living the RV lifestyle or to work camping opportunities all around the U.S. You'll also learn how to hit the road the right way and make the most of every opportunity. Now let's turn over today's show to your host, Greg Gerber.
Today I'm interviewing an entrepreneur who developed an incredible travel app out of frustration over all the time and effort it took to plan an RV trip. Today's episode is sponsored by Workamper News. If you have more questions than answers when it comes to work camping and the RVing lifestyle, then don't worry, Workamper News has your back. Attend a free monthly work camping Q&A webinar to get your questions answered. Each month, the knowledgeable team behind Workamper.com hosts a live free webinar where they answer questions submitted by folks just like you who are learning about the RV lifestyle, just getting started, or have been work camping for a while. They cover topics like what kind of work camping jobs are available, what do those jobs pay, tips for writing a work camper resume, questions to ask an employer, what type of RV is best, how to get your mail as an RVer, and much, much more. In the description of each video, you'll find a list of questions that were answered so you can quickly jump to the sections you want to hear. Register for the next live webinar at workamper.com/answers. Or listen to detailed answers now by watching the recordings of past Q&A webinars on the Workamper News YouTube channel at youtube.com/workcamper and then click on the Q&A on Work Camping playlist. Scott Lengel is the CEO of AdventureGenie. The former Chief Technology Officer at Microsoft, Scott and his wife Lisa have been world travelers. But with everything shut down during the pandemic and international travel impossible, they opted to focus their wanderlust on the United States. The couple was not accustomed to sleeping in tents, so they bought an RV and hit the road. As much as they loved to travel and to plan, they both hated planning RV travel because it was so burdensome. They found the tools at their disposal were disconnected and that it required multiple windows to be open in order to find information and to use it. For example, when Scott and Lisa were planning a 6-week trip to visit the national parks of the Southwest, they had to wade through a bunch of random websites. That included photography websites, blogs, tour companies, and even train schedules. Scott knew there had to be a better way, and that's when the light bulb went off to create AdventureGenie. Today, the app provides information about 25,000 campgrounds and thousands of other points of interest. But the system goes beyond that to leverage artificial intelligence to match places to visit or to stay with the user's interests and preferences. To tell us how it all works and how RVers can benefit from AdventureGenie, please welcome its creator, Scott Lengel, to the show. Thanks for joining me today, Scott. I really appreciate the time. So tell us, what is AdventureGenie and how did it come about?
Thanks, Greg. Good to be with you. It really came about during the pandemic as so many things transformed. My wife and I, Lisa and I, had been world travelers. We had recently retired from our previous roles. I was a CTO in one of the divisions at Microsoft, so I have a technology background. And we started traveling the world, and life was great, getting to see the sights and sounds and the smells from the world around us. I was doing a lot of photography. It was awesome. And then the pandemic hit. And we realized that if we wanted to scratch this itch of adventure travel, we were going to have to take a different approach. And it actually turned out to be a good thing for us because we realized that we had not really explored the good old US today. Things like the national parks. And we found that we were able to take a whole new different type of travels by traveling the US in an RV. We were not campers. We were not RVers. We were not tenters or van lifers or anything prior to this. And it was a whole new experience for us. We found that we absolutely love adventure travel in the US in an RV. But what we also learned is that as much as we loved doing the travel, we hated planning the travel. And we're actually planners. We actually love planning, but we found that the tools available to us were either non-existent in many cases, disconnected. It just didn't give us a complete story on planning a trip the way that we should be able to do it in a modern world. And that's when the light bulb went off over our heads. And we said, there has to be a better way. And with some others, we formed a company called AdventureGenie, and we started building that other way about a year ago. And we just released our first product back in May of this year.
Oh my goodness. I've spent some time on it and it's quite a resource. There are a lot of things in there. How many campgrounds and points of interest are already in the Adventure Genie?
Yeah, we already have, we believe that we have the system with the most campgrounds because there are other tools out there. And I'm sure your viewers and listeners know about them, as do you. We have over 25,000 campgrounds. We have several thousand points of interest. And that's interesting. That's like a baseline. And that's, we call it like blocking and tackling. You got to have that stuff. But we feel that our real power comes through the advent of artificial intelligence. And when we take our database of campgrounds and points of interest and places to go, and we couple it with what we know about users, basically what users tell us about themselves, what they want to share with us about themselves, and what we learn about them by using our system. When we couple that with artificial intelligence, it opens up a whole new world of possibilities with planning your journeys, planning your adventures, and planning your travel. But yes, it does start with that very large campground database that we have.
I was a full-time RVer for 3 years, but that was from 2014 to 2017. And trip planning was a real pain for me to try and get all that done because you had to find out the route and then look for the campgrounds and all that kind of stuff on the route. And you guys have done it all. So people just go in there and they put their start location and their end location. And in an instant, you guys have an entire route planned out.
Yeah. And that's how it started with us. The very first trip, the big cross-country trip that we took was, I went into Google and I said, I'd like to take a 6-week trip to the national parks of the Southwest. And what I got back was a bunch of random websites. It was maybe some photography websites or some bloggers websites or tour company sites. We even got a link back to Amtrak, which didn't really seem like it was going to be all that helpful to us. So that's how we start our journey in AdventureGenie, is the ability to shape your trip. And you can do it in a variety of ways. You absolutely can do a traditional stop by stop. You could say, we live in Bluffton, South Carolina. We can say, I'd like to go from Bluffton to Asheville, North Carolina, to Nashville, Tennessee, to Amarillo, to Denver, to the Badlands, and take me home. You can do that. You can go stop by stop because often we know that people will know the big stops that they'd like to take. So you can shape your trip in that manner, and we'll fill in the blanks, because that was the hard part too. You start going to maps and you're like, all right, what's halfway through, or what's six hours through, or what's 300 miles through? And it was very complicated to go through that detailed process of shaping your route. We kind of shape it for you based on what we know about you and what you like to do. But that's just one way of shaping your trip. Another way is to browse what we call our Genie trips. And that allows you to explore a set of destinations and a set of fees. So you might be browsing by national parks or by wineries or by music or taking the bourbon tour or amusement park. And we give you a really good starting point for some curated trips that we believe are shaped and built specifically with RVers in mind. So if you look at a Genie trip, it will tell you the places to go, approximately how long to stay, the things to do around it, where to stay. And it's just a good way of browsing some pre-configured itineraries. So that would be the second way that you could shape your trip. Remember, the first one was stop by stop. The second one is with these pre-curated Genie trips. But the real power comes in full on artificial intelligence where you just describe the art of the possible and you say, I'd like to start my trip in Bluffton, South Carolina. I know I'd like to go through Asheville and Nashville. I want to visit the national parks of the Northwest and go through towns that are known for things like the biggest ball of twine. And as you shape a trip like that, you step back and let AdventureGenie create a set of stops, a set of destinations for you, along with a route, and connect it all together, taking into account your driving time and so forth. We add these things called Genie stops. Those are like the little magical stops that say, okay, I think for Greg, I think it makes sense that you're going between Nashville and say Amarillo. Probably a good stop for you would be Oklahoma City and go see the stockyards, for instance. So that's the way you start it, by creating a shape, an overall shape of your trip, the route, and we provide those three ways to do it: stop by stop, use a pre-curated Genie trip, or to use our Genie journey, which is just natural language, type stuff in and let us create a trip for you.
That is very cool. I know that when you're setting up the preferences for your account, it allows you to indicate the kinds of things that you would really like to have as far as preferred amenities at campgrounds and the preferred activities that you'd like to do along the way. And so does the software then eliminate things that don't have those kind of amenities in the campgrounds? So when it's...
Sorry, Greg. Yep, it absolutely does. And the way that we do it is we believe that people have effectively three types of categories of preferences. One would be we look at it as must-haves, nice-to-haves, or I don't care. So an example of a must-have is if you had a Class A RV and you really wanted to use your 50 amp capabilities, you would put that in as a must-have. And if a campground didn't have 50 amp, you weren't even going to look at it. Yes, we would eliminate it from the realm of possibility for you. So we see typically what users are doing is they're saying, I must have 50 amp water and sewer. Some RVers camp that way, and that's an absolute requirement for them. They might also say, here's another big one. It must be pet friendly. We know that most RVers tend to have a pet, or a lot of RVers tend to have pets. And if you have a pet, that's absolutely a must have. You're not going to stay in a campground that doesn't allow pets. So those are the must have. The nice to haves might be, oh, by the way, I'd like it to have a pool or fire pits. Not a necessity, but we'll take that into account as we're making recommendations for campgrounds for you. And then there are things that you say, I just don't care. I really don't care if they have laundry facilities or not, because I happen to have laundry facilities in my RV, or I'm not going long enough that I care about laundry facilities, or I am a rustic kind of couple and we want to stay in the woods. It doesn't matter that we're wearing the same clothes for 3 weeks, whatever the case may be. You describe it, we learn about you, and we take that into account as we're recommending campgrounds. As we recommend those campgrounds, there's a few key things that we call out for you. Here's an example. When people are researching campgrounds, we find that they do a lot of things. They're out on the internet, they're using tools, they're reading reviews, and they're reading lots and lots of reviews. And we know everybody has come across this. You go and read a review for a campground, and it says something like this. Oh, it's a lovely little campground. There's lush landscaping. The people at the office were very friendly. It allows you to make nice wide turns, but it rained while we were there. So I'm giving it a 2 out of 5 stars. What does that mean? And so now as a human, we've got to go and reconcile all of that stuff. Wait a minute. Was it good or was it a 2? And so what we do through AI is we use our sentiment analysis. And we will go through and quote unquote, read those words that they said. What are they actually saying? Forget about how they're scoring it. What are they actually saying? And we'll, through our advanced algorithms, be able to do 2 things. We create a summary of every campground based on everything that we learn and see and read from others out on the internet. So we take all of that information, we read it so you don't have to, and we will create a summary paragraph that describes the campground based on what everybody is saying about it. That's number one. And number two, based on the underlying sentiment of those words that they're using and the phrases that they're saying, we will create a Genie score. And the Genie score will be a rating between 1 and 10. It will absolutely be independent. Campground owners can't influence it. And we look for trends in what people are saying about a campground to give it a rating. So between the two things, we get a Genie summary, which is a paragraph, and a Genie score, which is a number, both of them completely independent. And it's based on the full body of work that we can find out on the internet, again, so you don't have to. We then couple that with something we call a Genie match. If we go and look at a particular campground, you'll see that it has a score of 77. Okay, that's out of 100. The words that people are saying and our algorithm said that it's a rating of about a 77. But what does that mean to me? That doesn't really personalize it. That 77 rated campground may be great for me, or it may be a very poor choice for me, depending on the amenities that it has, the activities that are nearby. That's where our Genie match comes into play. And Greg, you mentioned at the beginning, people enter their preferences. We leverage their preferences. We leverage what we're learning about the user, and we match it to the amenities, activities of the particular campgrounds. And that's called our Genie match. You could think of it as a Netflix style percentage. Basically, it's the percent likelihood that we believe this campground will be a great match for you. It could be the most luxurious campground in the world. It may have a really high Genie score, but if you like camping in the woods and want to get away from everything, that might be a very poor match for you. So your percent match or Genie match might be low for that. On the flip side, it could be a very basic rustic campground and not a lot of amenities, and the score may not be through the roof, but the Genie match for you may be a perfect fit. Like the 95% likelihood you're going to love this campground because we believe that what it has to offer and what you're looking for are a great match.
That's a really cool feature to have. That's amazing. So when you're looking at the kinds of trends on the internet, are you sorting it by date or taking that into consideration? So the 5-star reviews from 10 years ago might not reflect the 1-star reviews that have been left in the last 2 years.
Incredibly great question. And the answer is yes. We do take into account how recent the review is, not only just 1, 2, 5, 10 years ago, but we also pay particular attention to what happened during the pandemic, because there are a lot of changes that came about due to the pandemic. There are a lot of feedback that was applicable during the pandemic that is no longer applicable. So we take all of that into account in our analysis. Absolutely. The other thing I wanted to add there is we very much look for trends. So if the information we find on a particular campground seems to be a one-off, then it will be very much down-weighted, if not eliminated entirely. But if we see a theme that feedback is coming from multiple users and it's more recent, back to your prior question, then that plays into our analysis with a greater weight than otherwise.
Thanks for that explanation. That's great. What is a Genie wish?
Genie wishes. Genie wishes are basically what they sound like. Hey, Greg, I'd like to grant you 3 wishes. As you're going on your trip, what do you like to do? What do you like to see? What do you like to eat? And it allows the user to identify things to do at a particular stop. Remember my initial query, which was, I'd like to take a 6-week trip to the national parks of the Southwest. So we have this capability, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, called Genie Journey. The Genie Journey will help me define the national park. If I said in the Southwest, the national parks in Utah, for instance. So it will recommend Zion, Bryce, and Capitol Reefs, and the national parks in Moab, Arches, etc., and make recommendations on how long to stay and so forth. We now couple that with Genie Wishes. So you could also say, and I'd like to go hiking and biking and eat at the most popular pizza restaurants along the way. And those are very specific recommendations that we make for you. It is like the power of AI to its fullest. We actually amaze ourselves, or we just find it amazing the way that people are using the system and the wishes that they're asking for and our ability to fulfill them. So now we're almost at the point. We're a startup company. We're a growing company. We're putting out software on a regular basis. Every 2 to 3 weeks, we make a new release of software. We do it in a very agile fashion. Now that we take the capability, we have all of the underlying components to customize your journey, to shape your journey with the Genie Journey. We have great capabilities to recommend campgrounds with the Genie summaries and the Genie match. And now that we've added the ability to grant wishes and identify things to do with the Genie Wishes, imagine, because you will see this very shortly, imagine if you now take a step back and say, I'd like to take a 6-week trip to the national parks of the Southwest during the months of June and July. And I'd like to find the best hiking and photography spots along the way and dine at the most local, rustic, laid back restaurants at each location. And imagine whether you're just typing that in or we're prompting you for that information. And then you step back and you see a complete trip, complete journey, a complete adventure created for you with each of the key destinations, the route between them, the layover stops along the way, map it to specific dates, make recommendations for specific campgrounds based on what we know about you and what you like, and make suggestions, create an itinerary. Don't forget to stop at Sal's Pizza when you're in Cleveland because they were recommended on Diet Triple D or top 10 pizza restaurants in the US. So those wishes are that final component that create the detailed itinerary for you. None of these things are mandatory. You don't have to, obviously, we're just making recommendations, but this is the type of thing that you used to have to do multiple Google searches. You have a map that you are working through. In the old days, it was a triptych, but at least we got to the point that you could use an online map. You'd be using a book. You'd be researching. You'd have 5 or 6 different tools on your app. You'd have 8 browser windows open. And we believe that we've created something that it truly is an all-in-one tool that allows you to completely create a customized, very much for you, customized trip or journey for the RVer that answers the questions of what to do, how to get there, and where to stay in a very customized fashion for you.
And I noticed with the route options that people have the ability to indicate how far they'd like to travel on a typical day. So you can put in the amount of miles that you would like to go, and the Genie will plot the actual stops along the way. Is it possible to alter the route options in some way so that you avoid interstates and only use the the U.S. highways or back roads?
Yes, there is. This is a good question because I've been testing it internally, and I can't remember if we released it right now. By the time that you that this podcast is released, it may or may not be
Okay.
in there, but it is definitely in our backlog. That is a huge feature request that we've gotten from our users, the ability to take or avoid the interstate. You want to go the fastest, you want to go the most scenic, and absolutely that is a feature we will be releasing if we haven't already.
That's awesome. So you've developed a resource center for users. What's included in the resource center?
So the resource center is, think of it as your helper, and software is software, and new tools are always, it's just something new to learn. So we created this little resource center to guide you through the usage of the product. We believe that, especially for new users, it's just going to be, you have to get over the learning curve. And we've added that to give you step-by-step procedures. Oh, you're looking to create a trip in a stop-by-stop fashion. Let me give you the guidelines. First, you go and create your trip, and then you add your origination, and then you add your next stop. And we just walk you through the process of doing that. We believe that it's particularly important for new users to help them come on board and learn the new system. We believe that over time, as we learn more about how users want to use our product and how they actually are using the product, the resource center will be less necessary, but we're using it now to just give them that initial to get them over the hump, to make it as easy as possible to use the systems.
So people can figure out how to use it on their own. They're not going to need a lot of help to understand how the AdventureGenie works.
Exactly. That's right.
What's the cost to subscribe to this?
It's an annual subscription. It is, and we offer it at $49.99 per year. And with that, you get full access to the entire system, every tool, every trip, every wish that you can think of, unlimited, use it as much as you want, as many stops as you want, as many wishes as you want, as many unique trips as you want over the course of the year.
I was looking at one of your features that you have right now, and that's the ability to put in a location. So for example, I put in Maine. I'd like to go to Maine, and it already plotted out a route for me and indicated all the way from Mystic, Connecticut up to Bar Harbor, Maine, and with stops along the way and points of interest along the way. And it's just, for $49.99 a year, this is going to be a huge bargain for anybody who wants to plan a trip. It would take me literally days to plan a trip when I was full-time RVing.
We hope so. We like to think so. We've been doing a number of trade shows, for instance, and that's the consistent feedback. When people see it, when we demo it, or they try it on their own, and if you're as a planner, this is what I hear the most often from either the husband or the wife. The spouse is if it's the husband talking, my wife is the planner. She spends days, if not weeks, doing this. Are you kidding? $50. So yeah, we also think it's a pretty good value.
Do you offer a free trial for people to give it a try to see if it's something they'd like to use?
We absolutely do. 7-day free trial, no questions asked. You get full access to the product. We believe that when you try the product we believe that within a few hours, you'll be convinced, but we give you 7 days to try it out. And that is absolutely free, no charge whatsoever.
And you also have a basic plan that costs nothing. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yep. With the basic plan, what you get is full access to our campground database of 25,000 or so campgrounds. You get full access to our pre-configured Genie trips. And if you wanted to continue to plan a trip on your own, AdventureGenie gives you free access to a pretty rich database of both itineraries as well as campground. You can go ahead and roll your own. What you can't do is you can't use the trip planner functionality, which allows you to plot your route, to allow us to make suggestions for things to do along the way. You do not get our AI capabilities of Genie Journey, Genie Wishes, Genie Stops. All of those things are part of the subscription plan.
Okay. So the best thing for people to do would be to get that 7-day trial to learn how to use the enhanced plan, the pro plan. And then after they get comfortable and they see what the Genie can do for them, then it's $50 a year. and it's a real
Yep.
bargain. So where can people get more information about this?
AdventureGenie.com, www.adventuregenie.com.
That's awesome. You guys have put a lot of work into developing this tool for people, and I am sure that RVers are going to find it fascinating and what you've included in the ability to plan a trip. And so thank you on behalf of all RVers for putting that together, and I wish you guys the best of luck as you roll out more features in the months and years ahead.
Thanks, Greg. Really appreciate it.
I loved interviewing Scott Lengel, the CEO of AdventureGenie, about his unique app to improve trip planning for RVers and people who love to travel in the United States. The app is super easy to use. You start by entering your preferences regarding the types of amenities you need or want to have at campgrounds you visit. For example, if you frequently need 50 amp power at the pet-friendly campground without a lot of kids, you would enter those preferences. Then you would enter the types of things you enjoy doing when you travel. Perhaps it is specific restaurant types, museums, wineries, or outdoor adventures. Once that is entered one time, then all the trip planning going forward is a breeze. To plan a trip, simply enter your starting point and final destination. You can even enter multiple legs of the trip to include all the places you'd like to visit. Then you tell the app how far you prefer to travel in a single day. AdventureGenie will create stops for you by recommending campgrounds that meet your criteria, as well as noting things to do that match your interests along the way. It also takes into account recent reviews scoured from the internet. The app also has curated trips already laid out, so if you want to visit Maine, you'd look for that state and the app can tell you the routes to take and things to see along the way. There are so many tools available on AdventureGenie that it will make travel planning easy and fun rather than a chore that can take hours, if not days, to complete. Best of all, the app costs just $49.99 per year for unlimited access to all the trip planning tools. But if you're still uncertain, then take advantage of the free 7-day trial. I encourage you to take AdventureGenie out for a test drive by visiting www.adventuregenie.com. You'll be blown away by the vast number of fun and helpful features available to make planning your next trip or an entire season of trips so much easier. Today's episode is sponsored by Workamper News. With its Diamond and Platinum membership tools, Workamper News is much more than just a job listing website. When you put the tools of this professional service into action, you'll find out just how easy it can be to turn your work camping dreams into reality. The one-year memberships open the door to a one-stop shop for all things work camping. Being the original resource for work camping, you'll find the largest number of job listings, be able to connect with a community of work campers, and view resources compiled by experts who've been enjoying the RV lifestyle for many years. If you're serious about leading a successful and enjoyable work camping lifestyle, then a Diamond or Platinum membership is for you. You can even get started with a free 30-day trial by visiting www.workamper.com/trial. Embark on new adventures today with the support of Workamper News behind you. That's all I have for this week's show. Next time I'll be speaking with an employer at a campground near the Black Hills of South Dakota who is looking for work campers next summer. I'll have more information on the next episode of The Workamper Show. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed these interviews, please consider leaving a review wherever you download the episodes.